Hey guys, Jason at Hard Money Bankers. Hope all is well. Today I'm going to talk about staying in your lane and the term stay in your lane. And as I go through this podcast, you'll fully understand where I'm getting at. But there's three components to think about. First, you need to figure out what you individually want, what you're willing to do for it, and who you actually really are. There are so many people, especially real estate investors, that are chasing shiny objects and kind of going after things or making unrational decisions because maybe they flipped the house and made 30 grand. They're like, great, I'm going to quit my job. I just got to flip another house. I'll make 30 grand, another house, make 30 grand, another house. I'll make 30 grand. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but you need to stay in your lane. And like I said, you need to figure out what you want, what you're willing to do for it, how bad you're willing to work for it, and who you really are. Because there's some people that, think there's somebody that they're not. Like most of us aren't Gary Vee, right? So, maybe you are, but most people aren't just willing to go all in. So it's important to stay in your lane. Now I'm going to give you a few examples of some people that I know that have tried to get outside their lane. And as soon as they've tried to get outside their lane, it's really hurt them. And they were already successful as is. So they forgot about that. So I got a buddy who works at the government, full-time W-2, and he flips some houses as well, and he makes some side income. And he's done okay on these side deals. And every time I see him, he wants to do more and more and more and more. And I'm like, hey, listen, first off, don't quit the government. You have very good income. You have very, very good benefits. You're not that old, and you already have a lot of money stocked away in your 401k and your retirement plan because they have good matching programs and things like that. Hundreds of thousands of dollars already. You're not even all that old. And honestly, you're not this real estate investing mogul. You've done a few deals and you'd enjoyed it, but it's a completely different business model afterwards. So stay in your lane, stay at the government, do a few deals a year as they come up. They kind of fell in his lap. They weren't, obviously wasn't out there marketing super hardcore for him. And, he had some access to private capital and he was able to use those to fund them. So it worked out great. It doesn't mean you have to go all in. It doesn't matter if you're a full-time entrepreneur or full-time real estate investor or part-time. It doesn't matter. Understand who you are and what you're capable of doing and what you want to do. He thought he wanted to live that free lifestyle, but most people need structure in your life. And that's why it was important for him to stay where it was. And this past year, he didn't have the opportunity to do any deals because it didn't fall in his lap. And, God forbid if he had quit what he was doing, he would have got himself in trouble. Okay. So I got another buddy. I'm trying to give you three stories and I'm hoping you relate to one of these stories. I have another buddy who was a contractor and he started doing work for some investors and some other side work. He also has a full-time job, a construction job that he works for a big company, and he's an employee of them. And he started doing some side projects, and he got a taste of that. And then he started working for investors. He never flipped properties himself. Then he worked for some investors and got a taste of that. And he was like, Jason, I think I should just go on my own. I'm like, don't go out on your own. It's a much different skill set. What's going to happen 2 weeks after you go after your own and you don't have that solid paycheck? You need that confidence. You need that solid paycheck that's coming in on a regular basis. Anyways, he ended up going on his own, and long story short, I'm not going to get into all the details, but he ended up back months later at another full-time job because, money didn't come in 2 weeks later and it wasn't consistent. People need consistency. It's you think about it, and the biggest trap that people fall into is the shiny object trap of, well, if this person's over here is doing it, I can do it because I'm smarter than them, or I have more resources than them. Or they get a taste and they do that first deal, and they make $30,000 on it, or whatever the case is, or they buy one rental that's making $1,500 a month positive cash flow, because let's say they bought it in cash or whatever, it makes less than that, and they used other people's money, and they forget that cool, that's one deal. Well, guess what? Now that you own 10 deals, now you got to hire an employee. Do you know how to manage people? Okay. Oh, now I got to learn QuickBooks. Do you know accounting? There's so many different skill sets as you grow and grow and grow and grow. Robert Kiyosaki's set up, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then kind of keeping your day job, your W-2 job. And that W-2 job can be in real estate. It doesn't have to be in real estate. Was always the smartest way to do it. And then replace your income After you replace your income and you have financial freedom of whatever you need, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a month, then you can go dabble with other stuff. And you can kind of wean out of that, but don't just make rash decisions. So I got another buddy who's a full-time investor, and he was doing a few deals a year and making decent money on them, on each deal. And that was his full-time job. He was always a full-time investor, but then he decided he wanted to kind of go all in on it and do more and more and more and more. It almost went bankrupt because he thought he could do twice as many deals and make twice as much money. It didn't work like that. He needed to buy more deals, so he bought slimmer margin deals. He had to go and he had to raise other types of different capital sources. So he had his hands involved in a bunch of different capital sources. He had to spend time. He had to take on more overhead because he needed office. He needed employees and things like that. So he took on more resources. And all of a sudden, he did a lot of deals worse. His product went downhill, lost reputation on that. So just think through that. Again, figure out what you want, what you're willing to do for it, and who you really are, and really think through that. Chris and I have been very transparent about, we went out and we bought a bunch of rentals, and we bought a bunch of flips, and we hated it. We went in that direction where we thought we wanted to be in that direction because we thought we could make more money per our time on that. And really, lending is what we love, and lending is what we're good at, and lending is what we've stayed with. So hard for us to kind of transform from that. And you learn from that. Think about it. You're in your lane and you move over a little bit and maybe get sideswiped or something, and you get put back in reality. So figure out what your lane is and stay in that lane and stay in that lane and stay in that lane. I'm not saying don't dabble in other stuff, but understand who you are and stay in that lane. Hopefully you found this helpful. Comment below with any questions.